This is confirming member access. As a preliminary matter, this is Rob Benchley, the chairman of the Sconset Advisory Board for the HDC. Allow me to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. And members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Angus McLeod.
Here.
Clement Durkees.
Here, and I can hear you.
You. The chair notes the, at this point, the absence of Caroline Ellis.
I'm
Mary
here.
Latham
I'm
Whip-
here. I'm here.
Oh, there you
Just
are.
let her in.
Oh, hi.
But I'm, I couldn't scroll back to find out what the Zoom number was. That's all.
All right.
Bye.
Welcome,
Should've gotten
Caroline.
one. Yeah, it's okay. Let me forward this to you. And you have to scroll down almost to the bottom. It's the one with all the attachments on it. But here, let me send it to you. The 19th. Yeah. I know. Start.
There's Caroline.
Hang on one sec. All right, let me forward this to you. That's all right. Let me make sure I've got your. That is. Okay, I sent it. I'll be right with you. And just scroll down and click on that, and then you just gotta, put your name in and do all that stuff, and you'll be on. And I'm just, yep. Okay. Hi, Rob's back. And I need to hear from Caroline Ellis.
I think she's on mute. Hold on.
Okay.
There she is.
I will. I'll unmute. I thought I was supposed to stay muted. Sorry.
You're fine.
The chair notes Carolyn Ellis's presence at our meeting, and I'm trying to get Mary Will in here. She's signing up.
I just sent her I'll let her in, so she's here.
Perfect. All right, good. Okay, I'm gonna hang up now.
Okay, oh, sorry. Bye, Rob.
Hi, Mary.
There we go.
Hi. Hello, all. Can you see me? I can only see the agenda.
Yeah, I have the agenda up. We cannot see you. I can hear. Hold on.
Video.
There
Now
we
we
go.
can see you. Perfect.
All right. Good. Thank you.
Nicely done. And the
Hi,
chair
Holly.
the
Hi.
chair notices the presence of Mary Will.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to read the rest of this thing, which is making this meeting legal in terms of the open meeting law, and there's a bit of copy, so bear with me. Good morning. This is the open meeting of the Sconset Advisory Board of the Historic District Commission, being conducted remotely consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. In order to mitigate the transmission of the COVID-19 virus, we have been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings, and such governor's order suspends the requirement that an open meeting law have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of public bodies are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The order, which you can find posted with the agenda materials for this meeting, allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. Ensuring public access did not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting may or may not feature public comment. For this meeting, the Sconset Advisory Board is convening by video conference via Zoom. App is posted on the town's website identifying how the public may join. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and that all attendees are participating by video conference. Please also be aware that other folks may be able to see you, and take care not to screen share your computer. Anything you broadcast may be captured by the recording. All supporting materials that have been provided members of this body are available on the town's website unless otherwise noted. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless the chair, that being me, notes otherwise. We're now turning to the first item on the agenda. Before we do so, allow me to cover some ground rules for effective and clear conduct of our business and ensure the accurate meeting minutes. The chair introduce each speaker on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, the chair will go down the line of members, inviting each name to provide any comment, questions, or motions. Please hold until your name is called. Please remember to mute your phone or computer when you are not speaking, which you may or may not have to do. Please remember to speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. For any response, please wait until the chair yields the floor to you and state your name before speaking. If members wish to engage in a conversation with other members, please do so through the chair, taking care to identify yourself. I don't think we have public comment. However, I'll read this anyway. For members, after members have spoken, the chair will afford public comment to those members of the public that have joined the meeting via Zoom. Members of the public who wish to speak must state their names and be acknowledged and speak through the chair. Each vote that we take in this meeting will be conducted by a roll call vote. And that is the end of the introduction. And with that, I will turn this over to our able leader, Holly Backus. On the other hand, maybe I'll just read the agenda. I call this meeting to order. Members present have already been discussed. I will ask for an adoption of the agenda before us on the screen. And I guess I have to call everybody's name. Caroline Ellis, can I have your vote on adopting the agenda as posted? You're muted.
Yes.
Oh, thank you. Angus McLeod.
Yes.
Thank you. Clement Durkees.
Yes.
Thank you. And Mary Lathrop Will. Who
Yes.
stepped away. Okay, perfect. All right. So the adoption of the agenda has been approved. And I want to know approval of the minutes from February 2020.
I
that
make the
Kadeem
motion.
said- All right, thank you, Angus. I'm going to call the roll vote for the adoption of the minutes. Caroline Ellis, how do you vote?
I was not there.
Okay. Mary Lathrop Will,
I have not yet read them.
okay. Angus McLeod,
I've read them and they look fine to me.
okay. And Clement Turkeys,
I read them and they look fine to me. Approve.
and the chair read them and they look fine to me, so we have a 3-2, 3 votes in favor and 2 non-votes,
Two
and
abstain.
so the minutes are adopted. All right, moving on to old business. Item number 1, 33 Coffin Street, LLC. And this was, sorry. Oh, boy.
So 33 Coffin Street has been, we have a few things here. And I know you all are used to seeing everything all at once, so bear with me. I will do my best to make sure everything's up.
Is this on the existing, is this the old Watcher's house?
No,
This
yes,
is-
it is
no.
Mrs. Watrous', it's Mrs. Watrous' house. It's the submission by the Gabriels to basically add, to change the house to some degree. Windows,
Okay.
gable. Basically, they're creating more of an upstairs. The house had an upstairs, it got knocked off the back.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And so they're recreating sort of above the main body of the house.
So, and if you all can see this on the screen.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. This structure here, Chip Webster is the architect. This has been before the commission since COVID. These are the latest minutes from the June 8th meeting for revisions. I have provided comments to the commission as well. It is in your purview, obviously. This structure obviously is not historic, 1994,
Mhm.
but there's changes proposed to it. And the commission has provided their comments mostly on the west elevation, as you can see here, where you have hardly any fenestration, and then all of a sudden, then you have a lot.
Oh, yeah.
There is a discussion on that gable, and then the long ridge, as you can see through these. And let me know if I'm going a little too fast. I'm trying to make it so you can see all of these submissions. This was the original. Then this is the first submittal, second submittal, and third submittal. As you can see, the commission's been
Yes.
trying to request those things. So,
Doesn't look like there's been much change in those 3 iterations.
yeah, it's mostly been the long ridge plane, and so, and as well as, you know, the size of these gable. I did offer a suggestion to Mr. Webster about possibly, instead of having a shed dormer flanking, possibly a gable end to match that gable end, because at the end of the day, they're trying to, you know, provide some sort of access, but of course, it's the most visible too. So go through, show you where the changes that they've done. You can see on, this is the south elevation.
And that faces Coffin Street.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. So. Here's the north elevation. And there's a discussion of obviously the distance of the decks. Mr. McLaughlin's really good about making sure that they meet those requirements.
All right.
Yeah, and here's the changes in the ridge.
That's come down quite a bit.
I see.
So here's the view from the west elevation.
I can say I was so
And
proud of
there's-
myself looking at the west, and I thought the first proposal and the third proposal were exactly the same, which is what Holly
I thought the
pointed
same
out
as well.
also.
Yes. Yes. And as you can see, even here, that ridge, we don't really, without looking at the scale, what exactly that is, but it looks pretty long. Not broken up. We've got the schedule, those changes to the floor plan, and those decks. This application or this property also received a review and approval, essentially, for their landscaping, hardscaping, for the proposed pool. Both staff and the
Now-
commission were concerned. I apologize. I'm trying to make it so you guys can see it.
You're doing fine.
Thank you. I don't have a mouse. This is a new laptop, or new to me laptop I got from the town, so bear with me. So they did essentially approve the pool, or the landscaping plan for the pool. There was concerns on the visibility, obviously. There are going to be a lot of supplementing the existing, and also the gates, the proposed gates, what they were just didn't match. Here's the hardscaping and the landscaping that they proposed. So obviously that's set just in here as an FYI or for you all, but I can go back to the elevations.
So the reality is that the house, the west side really won't be seen from Burnell Street, given all of the vegetation that's planned. It's pretty hard to see the house from Burnell Street as is now. That extra long ridge line, which, interestingly, there was an even longer ridge line before they knocked the back of the house off in order to subdivide the property. So the Gabriels are actually, their extension of the west facade is not as great as the west facade used to be, I believe, when it had a garage apartment back there. But the garage apartment had to go so that the property could be subdivided because it crossed the boundary line. So I don't have a problem with the length of the ridge line. I mean, this is a house which, you know, isn't the most architecturally beautiful to begin with, I would say. It seems kind of in keeping. I mean, if anything, it's a little bit more visually interesting on the west facade now than it has been.
Yeah, the west facade is where the pool is, so obviously they want the French doors to go out to the pool.
Exactly.
Which looks fine to me.
Yeah, there is, at the moment, there's quite a bit of vegetation between Burnell Street and there, and looking at their plan, looks like they want to keep it there, keep it that way.
And increase it.
Yeah. And it's pretty secluded in that, within the lot. So I
I
don't
would
know.
argue, sorry.
Go, Mary, go.
I would argue that the fenestration, which is, I believe, the thing that we have question about, that it has quite a lot of additional fenestration. I would argue that that actually improves the look of that facade, that west facade.
Okay.
Angus,
So-
do you have anything to add?
I feel like it's unfortunate that there are two competing centers to this house.
Yeah.
There isn't a part that looks, I mean, except for the front door that, you know, clearly says this is the beginning of the house and we're sprawling out from here. That addition to the west of the original section just feels higher than it should have for the height of the original part. It feels like there's too much of this house that's the same height. And I feel like the fenestration on the lower level does enhance, and I understand, you know, facing the west, the pool on the first level, I get that, and that makes sense. Where I really have problems with this proposal is with the dormers. They're not meeting the minimum 4 pitch. One of them is 2.5 and the other one is 3 pitch. And it feels like, you know, a flat roof box trying to, you know, do exactly what it's doing, which is to provide space where there wasn't any. And I don't think it's graceful. So like that gable that faces Coffin Street, I would remove those dormers or reduce them to at least a 4 pitch.
Talking about the west elevation?
I think it's on the south elevation.
and the
isn't it?
west.
South is the front.
So you're
So
talking
south
about
and
the
west.
southwest, right? Southwest, Angus?
South and west, yeah.
I agree.
Remove those dormers?
Change the pitch.
Yep.
And that's, and the change in that pitch is within the guidelines.
Yes.
Correct. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments?
Holly, did you already make comments on this? Is that what you're reading in the very beginning?
Yes, I did.
That is the, if you have the view pack, it's 33 Coffin Street staff comment, PDF.
Yeah, I've reviewed it a couple of times. I think I've reviewed it for June 8th, June 16th, and unfortunately I was not present at the June 8th meeting. I took the day off for my brother's graduation, but June 16th, they didn't seem to provide or address the issues that the commission brought up regarding this west elevation and that visibility of that long roof line. And the gable in the center seems to be the same as that second approval, or the first submittal. Those are pretty much.
And
After I indicated that this is not. Yes, sir?
I'm sorry. I note also you said the pool was not moved towards the house as requested.
Yes,
Can you tell
and
if that's still the case?
No, as of, they actually at the June 16th meeting did approve it, that they were fine with that proposed landscape plan.
Okay.
This PDF, that it seemed to address their concerns with the visibility. I think this is a great indication of
Yep.
the site plan here. Seems to really.
Yeah, Rob, I
outline.
remember hearing that in Sconset, you're not supposed to have a circular driveway or two entrances to one house. But the house next door to this house also has a oval or whatever, curving driveway with two entrances. So, I mean,
Yeah.
I assume that was approved by the landscape people, so.
I also, on that point, Clement, I believe this driveway was pre-existing.
Yeah, it is. It
and
is.
that nothing has changed. So therefore, from the zoning bylaw perspective, that's fine.
Pre-existing non-conforming.
Yes, if there's, and I haven't confirmed that 100%, but if there's aerials showing it prior to 98, then it's pre-existing non-conforming from a zoning perspective. Does the commission or does the board have any other comments on this one?
I don't think so.
All right. We'll go on
Well,
to
I
the
had
next
one
one.
comment. Well, the one comment I had that's kind of weird is that when you go from the pool to the bathroom, you either go trundle through the living room, the kitchen, or you go around to the outside. I mean, it's usually there's a pool house, but I guess they cannot build another house, so you have to go all the way around. But that has nothing to do with us. That's their problem.
And there was a question asked if there was going to be any other
Building.
accessory structures, if you will, and they said no.
Just pee in the pool.
Yeah. Or the
Love them.
All right. And I hope you all were able to see the other documents for this application that was available in the packet. That was the most.
Holly, can you help me with a technical issue? I've still got
Yes.
everybody along the right side of my screen, but the main picture in the middle of the screen disappeared. It just says Zoom.
Yes. So I just stopped sharing. So you should see everybody right now, and then when I start to share again, so you can see the documents, then you'll be able to basically only see whoever's talking.
Thanks.
Gotta love Zoom. All right. So I'm pulling up. This is going to be for 10 Beach Street. I will note for the board that Matt is here. He wants to sit here and listen. So if there are any questions, I assume he'll be able to answer. If you would like. Bear with me for a second. This is a little different for me. I'm going off the internet, so I appreciate your patience here. I did not put them on my little jump drive. I normally do. So I'm going to bring up the old business. There's an old business and new business. Should be for this application. And I will note this has not gone in front of the commission since you all have seen it, I believe. Or at least since COVID, I'll note that.
Okay. I think this was one of the last things we saw.
I think so too.
And
I have to remember that
We were
my
very,
last day of, yeah, it was March, right?
it was probably the end of February. I think Caroline was
February,
away,
yep.
had gone away.
Yes.
We were really concerned by this. It's a game changer.
Yes. And I will say that, as staff, this is something that I was adamant on making sure that you all review prior to it going through to the commission again. So,
Thank you.
absolutely. Here are the elevations. Oh. Somebody's ringing.
I'll get it.
All right, so.
Sorry about that. It was my niece.
No
Yeah, this
problem.
was one of the last projects that we looked at before the pandemic, and I I think our concern really was that this is a whole vernacular that was in that area because this was the service part of Sconset, and the
Yep.
structures were modest, and this is to the untrained eye, it looks like a trailer, but it is historic, and it's representative of a past time there, and unfortunately the proposals haven't really been sympathetic to the original design. It's been more of a concept of what can we do on this lot if a house didn't exist here, and I don't think that that's changed that much over the iterations that they've presented. It has gotten better than it started, but it's still ignoring what was there, I think.
From what I saw, it's basically down a foot. The height of this is down a foot, so that's about it. And then they separated some windows and took out a window here and there, but nothing significant.
They're still changing the game. They're changing the neighborhood. They have obliterated the past with this submission.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
And you all did see in recent reviews of this, the information that was provided from NPT staff as well as some butters.
We did, and it was excellent. And when you see the house in its 1912 iteration, it is charming, absolutely charming, and it's very symptomatic of its time. It could be restored, but it would not be if this is approved.
So I believe these are minutes from the last time it was. Okay, so February 18th. Yeah, I figured it was February. And of course, the proposed demo is being tracked with the proposed plan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was my question, Holly. So, but the demo hasn't been voted on either.
No,
When you have to do the demonstration.
As you can see in the minutes from February 18th meeting, they're tracking the proposed demo with the proposed
With the new
dwelling.
house.
Correct. So there are some, I don't know how you all want to handle this, but
Well, there could be a demolition delay. Just like on the Baxter Road garage. I mean, doesn't that apply here too?
You also have to remember what the building with Nantucket in mind says, what gives the commission the authority to demolish. Demolition delay is a whole different ballgame that other commissions or other historic districts don't have the more robust law, if you will, with the special act. So demolition delay only gives you that delay. In this instance, with Appendix C within the building with Nantucket in mind, that's what this commission has to uphold for the proposed demolition. So standards for approval, I can read this out of building with Nantucket in mind if you want. But the commission shall not grant approval of a request for demolition of a protected structure or any portion thereof unless the commission determines upon clear convincing evidence that one of the following circumstances must apply. the structure is not a significant structure, or the structure is a protected structure only by reason of its presence within the historic district and non-contributing within the district.
Right. So I believe we did, I mean, it's determined that this is contributing, the existing structure.
Yes.
Yes.
Also, just the design of it, I think what we're all saying is the same thing. We don't want this redesigned. If they can work within the fabric that exists, and that's probably, why it sold for 600, is that, it is what it is. Right now, what they're presenting looks like the side or the back of a house that is what is being presented to the street. And it's, that there are outdoor showers there. It looks like a back door. The windows are small in the first one. Like, nothing is saying this is the front of a house. And as Mary was saying, you look at that historic photo and it's simple, but it's charming.
Yeah, my feeling is that considering what's there now and the history of that house and the history of why that house was there, that this proposed design doesn't include any of that story. And I mean, and it'll be another, it would be another Codfish Park bit of history lost.
Exactly.
And I think that's why we're here.
To Angus's comment about there's not a really strong entrance, I think they're looking at this as their kind of back house, or their guest house, because they own the house next door. So those two facades they care about, the one that's on Beach Street and the one that's the eastern side, because they're going to be facing that. And that's, so they want to just have common lawn in there, I guess, and gardens, and it's just, they're trying to use it as just their second house, their second dwelling.
So it pretty much sits there on, it's jammed between the two houses, and it's larger than the existing house. So it starts to feel like its own house. So I think it's got to show up for that. Speaking about the east elevation, I think we might have recommended this early on, is that there should only be one set of French doors.
Yeah.
The two is kind of overwhelming for that size. And again, all these things are, if this is a second dwelling or something that is smaller than the one in front of it, you don't have two sets of double French doors on the second floor. It seems it's not modest enough to be like the guest cottage.
Right. So what I'm here, excuse me, what I'm hearing from all of us is that we are not in favor, A, of the demolition of the existing historical contributing structure. We are also not in favor of this particular design were that demolition to be permitted. We're not in favor of this particular design because it's too much house on this lot, and if it's really supposed to be a substructure to, I think it's not gone crazy, but
Cuckoo. No, it is, yeah.
And frankly, it kind of looks like the Jersey Shore to me. It's just, jam as much as you can in. It doesn't feel like Codfish Park. It feels to me as if we approve this and people will come back to us saying, what are you doing for us? I mean, what are you doing to us? You're changing things. or allowing things to change in a way that's detrimental to the fabric of the community.
That's exactly right, Mary.
Exactly. Well put. Thank you.
I agree.
There was, as I recall in the packet, also there was an approval from the person across the street saying they didn't care. But they're probably happy not to look at the existing house and its disrepair more than what's going to go up. So,
Also, that house is on the market.
well,
Across the street's on the market.
Gone Native is.
Yeah.
And I also, I mean, I'm all in favor of what the neighbors think and say, and their word is valuable. But in this case, this is all the neighbors of Sconset.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I'm agreeing with you, Rob, but I'm also saying, I mean, it's going to be a hard argument when the houses, well, the one directly across the street that's on the corner is like, I think it's a floor and a half, whatever you call that. And
Yep,
then
sorry.
just next to this particular house is a 2-story house. And there are 2-story houses across the street. So, you know, there is a precedent on that little street for 2-story houses. But I don't know what was there before that, so.
Yeah.
If you have any questions, like I said, architect Matt is available. If there's anything that you want to. If not, we can move on.
I don't, hi, it's Rob speaking. I guess we just feel like we don't want to lose the integrity of what's there to what's being proposed. I don't see any connection between the old and the new, and especially since we think it's a significant structure and contributing. I just, it's almost, the idea is almost unapprovable.
That's right.
I agree. Mary.
I think we're not really talking about, we don't need details about the new structure because it shouldn't be there in the first place. It should have some relevance to the, what's there now.
Correct. Yeah.
Holly, did you say that Matt is available?
Matt is here. He has sent me, yes, he is on the Zoom, and he sent me a message to say if he's here to listen, but if you had any questions, he'd be able to answer. Matt, I don't know if they do. Do you have any questions for Matt?
No.
Yep, I'm here.
So there really isn't, I think what we're saying is there isn't really a connection between what is proposed and what's there that is not allowed to get removed. So what's he thinking?
Actually, Angus, I'm just here to listen to your comments. So I appreciate everyone's time and energy and efforts reviewing this, and I've taken detailed notes. So like I said, I just wanted to be here because we wanted to get this back on the agenda at HDC. We had heard a number of times through the board, and so we were making some pretty good progress. But I definitely got some additional insights from your comments. So I don't really, I just wanted to be here and be available if you did have any questions. I don't have anything to add other than
Thanks, Matt.
the comments.
So Matt, have you, just to be able to transfer to your clients, do you understand what our premise is here?
Yep, I think that's pretty clear.
Okay.
All right.
Matt, thank you very much for coming.
Yep, no problem. Happy to be here.
All right. Bear with me here.
So we move on to 37 Ocean.
Absolutely. So, actually, no, it's 73 Baxter
Okay, that's
is
fine.
the next one.
While we're on the same topic.
Yep. And I can't remember. Did you all look at this one or no? Was this prior? This was after COVID or when? Not pre-COVID.
We haven't, I don't believe we've seen
Yeah.
this.
We
No.
have not.
Okay. Thank you for making me remember because things start to mush together. All right, so.
Oh, and Matt's here for that one too.
Yes, this is Matt's. Matt did provide information, additional photographs of the interior. Bear with me. I don't know where they are in this packet, so. Sanborn.
Oh, yeah.
This is the Rosalina Russell cottage, not the main house, or the garage, excuse me.
Mhm.
And
The back half doesn't exist any longer. What we're seeing in this picture has gone away.
That's right. They moved the house back. Was that the Brecker house?
It was the Brecker house, and then the Darbys had it, and they
Yeah.
had to take the back half of the house, which was a kitchen and a maid's room. They took that off the house in order to move it,
Yep.
moved it back onto the street, and then and there was another guest cottage to this house, which was across the street, which is now the front part of the Mars second house.
Yep.
so here are the photos of the interior of the garage
Look at
that were
that.
provided. Obviously, this is a gable-ended garage, 2x4s, 2 foot on center, tongue and groove. Looks like it was, to me, it looked like it's slab on grade. There was a discussion on whether or not this was a Sears kit. Very possible. Yeah, you can see the tongue and groove.
Mhm.
So obviously everybody all around from the commission and Matt would rather see this being moved and not demoed, possibly moved on site. There was a lot of discussion about that. So let's see.
Is there any on-site left up there? I mean, this is a property which is subject to massive amounts of erosion. So do they have a place to move it is the question. It's right on the lot line now.
Along the front.
I could answer that if you prefer. So there, you can actually, this is Matt McEachern, by the way,
Yeah.
to answer your question, Mary. So right now the garage sits over the setback, but there is room to actually, there is some additional available locations for a new footprint, if you will. But our plan is we are looking to move it, and we've actually looked at a couple of different places to move it to. And Holly, this hasn't come up in the HCC meeting, but we did get a preliminary price to move it, and it was $100,000 to move the structure, which is, I know, that's what we said. But when you add everything up, the new foundation, it's again, the owners didn't really react well to that, but it was a real number and it's a real effort, and so we're trying to go through, look at all of our options basically. So I didn't mean to interrupt. I just want to answer that question.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Matt.
I like the idea of the structure being able to stay. I mean, we're just constantly losing these auxiliary service buildings, and in their simplicity, most garages are turning into guest houses and so forth. And this is it's almost like borrowed space. It's not what would be a legal space to have storage now, and it's right on the street and it's accessible. It's like, why wouldn't you keep it? But are there any proposals of where it would move to? I mean, 100,000 for an existing garage sounds, it's hard for me to wrap my head around.
I know. Me too. So what they're up against is we're trying to add an office, kind of a studio space for the new owners, and that's kind of what's driving it. But we did find a place that it could potentially go to, and it is it's not that far away. But again, we had a contractor really put some numbers because in a very genuine effort to talk about what's involved in moving it, and the demo, the lifting, the actual moving itself, and then prepping the new foundation, and then the front door is a fiberglass door. And I feel pretty confident that it is a Sears robot kit, and it's from anywhere between the 20s and the 40s. I'd say close to the 40s. So, anyways, yeah, it seems like an incredible amount of money, and I think that both parties are probably willing to kind of pony up some cash, but $100,000 is just doesn't make sense to anybody. So we're still working on it.
Can
this is
can the office space or whatever they're trying to add to the program go anywhere else, the back or the other side or somewhere else?
And I'm going to try this here. There's a lot of really beautiful glass, and you might be able to put it here, but it really obstructs. It's really killer. Sorry.
Go for it, Matt. I'm glad you did that.
Actually, if you go to the top of, because we've been doing so many Zoom meetings, where it says View Options, there's a pull-down menu, and then there's a subheading called Annotate. And so any of your participants can draw. So you go to Annotate, and you go to Draw, and then it has a sub-menu there with like a little wavy line and color coded. It's pretty useful, I found. Yeah, it's great.
Like it.
Pretty good. And anybody can do it. So, anyways, I don't mean to keep jumping in. I'll just sit back.
No, it's helpful. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay.
Any other comments?
Well, it seems to me there is another shed, another garage on the property, on the other side of the property. So they would keep that. It's just a question of ground cover. If you wanted to add on to the house, you needed the extra space.
Yeah, they don't have any plans to do any major renovations to the existing primary dwelling. maybe some minor interior baths, but they plan to keep the main dwelling in its original condition. It had been renovated, I think, maybe a few years ago on the interior, but for the most part, the interior stair and core and second floor landing are all intact, as are the first floor for the most part. So, but they have no intention of making any changes, significant changes, anyways, to the existing main dwelling.
Matt, have you guys considered using this structure for the new program? You know, adding fenestration facing the water and trying to make use of this structure if they don't need the storage for, you know, garage space?
Well, they do need the storage for the garage space. And the plan here is to actually essentially utilize a very similar sized footprint, slide it so that it's complying with the zoning setbacks, and so that the facade of the structure would be set back. Not
Sorry.
So sliding it back, you know, so it's somewhere here. And then the thought was to put a, a 3 to 4 foot knee wall on the second floor, utilize a similar pitch roof, and get some second floor space out of it, and then utilize the first floor for storage, necessary storage for a car at the end of the year, a lot of bikes, et cetera, et cetera. And then also kind of a secondary office space for Mary. Bruce would be on the upper level and Mary would be on the lower level. But the idea is to utilize a very similar scaled footprint, match almost the rafter roof details. Obviously change that door is not original. That's a fiberglass roll up door. So in some ways, yes, to answer your question, our intention is for it to be very similar in style and language. But the prospective, I mean, you saw that is pretty clearly a kit to me, and retrofitting that and I just don't think there would be you'd be altering so much of it. I don't know how much of it would be really worth keeping. So
I guess I was just thinking about the idea of the structure still staying somewhat intact on the property. If you lifted it up 4 feet and you did a new foundation as you're describing in the new location, at least, the walls and the roof, and that would still be intact. You just, lower above the door. I don't know. It's just the idea of being able to leave some of the infrastructure
sure.
on site.
I thought about that. I mean, and it's because you could, that the other alternative, the interesting part is it does the lot, the topography slopes, from Baxter to the ocean side there, kind of west to east. And so the east portion of the building, which is here, kind of is like set into the grade where, and so it slopes this way. And there was a part that I was thinking like, oh, geez, okay, well, maybe you could set it into the grade and, take this existing structure and just lift it up. My concern with that was scale-wise, that start to read like too vertically. Now, I think it's more, you're retaining more of the original structure, which could be interesting, but in terms of scale, would it be too awkward to have essentially, kind of almost a 2-story structure in that same footprint. But one of the things the HDC asked is if we could, they wanted to track this with the proposal, which is going in, I think, today, to track, because the idea that we're essentially, like in theory, our design intent was to say, like, say this is the roof pitch here. Hold on one second, let me see if I can do this. Bear with me here for 1 second. So that this roof line, bear with me 1 second. I'm just going to erase this. Come on, there we go. All right, so this roof line, that we're kind of utilizing a roof line similar to this, but we're cutting in like a shed dormer. You know, it's a very simple structure, very form-wise. That's not a very good drawing, but you get the gist that we're kind of like utilizing this existing roof line, but we're just cutting in a shed dormer. That's the intent, if you will. So they wanted to see that. And Angus is an interesting idea. I totally, you know, again, that was my only hesitation, that it might look too tall, you know, and vertical, but maybe not.
Well, I think it's a terrific idea to track the two together. I mean, that's you know, because that way you can show us how you're incorporating the old with the new.
Sure. Yeah, and that'll be up.
I mean, that makes total sense to me.
Can we hold this to be able to track with the other?
The chair does not know that question. Holly,
Yep, we can do that.
can we track? Can we stick this with their new submission? I mean, would that make sense?
Yeah, I don't see why not.
Yeah. Seems pretty natural to me.
Not a problem. All right, I guess we're on to
I'm going to sign off. Holly,
37.
thank you all
Thanks,
for your
Matt.
time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Matt.
Matt. Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
All right. Kind of getting close to the end here. As far as time goes, and Rob, let me know if you think I need to ask. I will do so for a longer time. Especially with looking at the amount of applications we had versus the amount of time. But I knew the first time, you know, meeting would be a little rough getting everybody in and whatnot. So
Yeah.
kind of hard to judge at times. Trying to get these set up, you know.
Yeah.
Okay, so next one is 37 Ocean for the solar on the roof. And that's why we got Tobias waiting. And we've got 2 applications. This has been in front of the commission, proposed on the historic structure, and then also on the contemporary garage. Bear with me for a second here. I'm trying to
Hey,
pull up
Holly,
the-
Holly, can you hear me?
Yes,
Holly,
I can.
this is actually Tim Carruthers. Toby, unfortunately, just had to leave the office. He's taken himself to the hospital. He's fine, and it's not COVID.
Oh, okay. Poor guy.
So I'm actually going to be representing the project.
Okay. Thank you. We'll just wait till I get these up for the commission or the board here. Bear with me. This is another thing that kind of takes time, and I will be a little bit more prepared for you all next week, but having it on my jump drive versus dealing with the internet on the town's website, it's a lot easier. Cottage. All right.
Holly, is it worth me providing some context while you bring up that information?
Sure. That's not a problem.
Okay.
Wrong thing I'm looking at here. You can do that if you like. So, here we go. I think these are additional photos that you all have provided.
Maybe way back. I'm not sure if that's the.
Yeah. My apologies here.
I'm not sure that's. That is a solar array on Baxter Road that I'm aware of, yeah.
Okay. This is a little difficult here, so bear with me.
Holly,
On
I can send to you, Holly, the latest HDC packets that we have.
No, I have everything. It's just a matter of what Kathy in our office was able to put everything on here. Let me do this. This is the Dex balcony.
Is it the PDF dated 6/30/20? Well, yeah, part of the title, the file name is 6/30/20.
I think I got the.
Yeah, that's for the main
No.
house.
Rob, excuse me, I have to leave. It's Caroline.
All right,
I'm sorry.
that's quite all right.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining.
Okay.
See you around campus.
Thanks, Caroline.
Hey, Caroline.
Bye.
All right, bear with me here. See, I'm having to go. All right, so that's what it was. I put the wrong one. So we want to do 6:30. Yep, you're right. Here's the cottage, and then we'll just.
Next one, MH, is probably the main
Sorry,
house.
guys. Yeah, I think the most important, I think, to go first is the main house.
Yeah.
Yep. And this was a 1892 shingle style, and proposal has changed a couple of times based on commission and staff's comments, which is great. Give you all the site plan. All right, I'll defer to you.
Okay, so if for the members, I can give a little context here. So this is for Kate O'Reilly. She's the daughter of Mary Heller. They own this property on Ocean Ave. They'd like to add solar panels to the property. We've currently got two designs that we are proposing. One is on the main mass, the main house, on the southwest roof and the, I guess, sort of northwest elevation of the main house. We've modified the design to remove some of the panels in that lower valley, sort of between the two arrays that you see that right there. The owner is also proposing, as part of the project, they are going to be moving, there's a hedge that sits about 10 or 15 feet off of the house. They're actually going to be moving that hedge all the way to the edge of the property on Linden Lane. You cannot see those elevations, those panels at all from Ocean Ave. We've got a bunch of pictures here in the proposal that gives those perspectives. And then with the hedge being moved to Linden Lane, we don't believe you won't see the panels either. And we've tried to show this view here actually, thank you, Holly, this view here actually shows that we have lowered the panels on that main mass.
Oh yeah.
So if you go to the next page, you can see what the effect will be when the hedge is moved. You can see that hedge on the left picture. That's going to get moved all the way up to the white picket fence, and that will block the view from Linden Lane.
Because Linden Lane has been the location of conversation, really and truly,
Right.
on this structure. And even though that it's, mostly a footpath that people don't really drive through, at the end of the day, it is a viewable road nonetheless.
Yeah, this shows these pictures here show that you can't see those elevations from Ocean Ave of the main house.
Okay, and then I believe that's not what I wanted. All right, I'm pulling up. I thought I had it already, but I didn't. I apologize. I'm pulling up the new submittal for the
cottage.
cottage. 6
There it is.
solar main house cottage. Here we go. I did have comments on the visibility from Ocean Ave for the cottage, because you could see it. That was my concern originally from standing over here. So I don't,
Yes, but
and
absolutely.
also the commission had asked for them to put it on this elevation so there wouldn't be a visibility from ocean.
Right, so these are the two, this is an updated proposal we have for the cottage. We had originally proposed to have panels on the southeast elevation as well as that southwest elevation. Based on feedback from the HDC, we moved the panels over to the northwest elevation of the cottage, which is that top array there. There's 4 panels there. And we also adjusted the array that's on the southwest elevation, that bottom right elevation there. Instead of being an L shape, it's just a straight square. And I've also provided pictures from both Ocean Ave and from the side street that runs along there. And
yeah.
We don't believe you're going to be able to see the panels from either Ocean Ave with the changes we made, or on that right side street, which is named, what is that? Is it Carew? Carew Street?
Oh, right.
Yeah. And I think the next slide shows pictures taken from that side street. Right there, yeah. So there's a couple of, there's right on the intersection of Ocean Ave and Carew. You can see, you won't be able to see that, you can't see that southwest elevation of the cottage. And now that the panels are going on the back side of the other elevation there, you won't be able to see that either. And if you, Holly, go back to the previous one, I just want to describe the experience of somebody walking down Ocean Ave. The previous, yeah, one more back, Holly. Yeah, keep going. Right, from Ocean Ave. So as you walk down Ocean Ave, as you come from the northeast on Ocean Ave, your view is blocked. And at the point that you might have been able to see the 4 panels on that lower right there, the main house and that tree completely blocks that elevation, and you can't see it. And I tried to depict that in the pictures. I'll pause there if anyone has any questions or comments.
It looks to me like you've done everything you can to lessen the visibility of them, and I feel pretty good about it. I mean, it is solar, and it is the way we're supposed to be going, I guess.
I've
But
just-
I'd be happy to hear from anybody else.
I have two questions, and actually I should say that I am in favor of this. First of all, the roof itself is already black asphalt, as I recall. Is that
Correct.
correct?
That is correct, yes.
Okay, so the panels are black. They will fade into the roof in any event, the asphalt roof. And what is the elevation off the roof of the panel? Is it 4 to 6 inches?
Yes, yes. They sit about 4 to 6 inches off the roof.
Okay. I'm entirely in favor of it. I think it looks fine. I think you've done a really good job of trying to have the panels in places we can't see them, and it seems like a good precedent.
Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
can say that I'm also in favor of them, and what I appreciate is that the ones that were put on the house on Baxter Road, and I can't remember the number now, but they're also on the west side of the house, but you can see them from the front. You can see them from Baxter Road just by 2 or 3 inches. But what you've done here on the main house is lower them in the back, so you won't see that little edge at the top of the roof. So I think these will be totally invisible, and they look fine to me.
Thank you.
I'm a huge proponent of alternative energy and solar. I really wish we had something with the town where people could invest the money that they would have put into solar panels on a house in an old historic district to put it into a field somewhere where they could still get the benefit of the green power. And I hope the town figures that out sooner than later, and maybe you guys are already working on that. I think the garage is an awkward structure, but there's been another structure built right next to it that obstructs the view of the northwest of where you're proposing on the garage structure. And I think that because of all the growth and everything, that southwest panel as well gets obstructed. So I'm in favor of either of those. I'm really not in favor of anything going on the old main house. Linden Lane is one of my favorite lanes to walk down, and it's wonderful how that yard is one of the few along that road that actually isn't just a walled, hedgerow. And it would be nice for it to stay that way. And I'd hate for something unsightly going on the house that necessitates them walling off the road from the yard. So those are my thoughts.
What's everybody else's thoughts on the main dwelling, on the historic structure?
My only thought is I really appreciate that you lowered that panel that would be on the main house so it will not be seen from the other side. I don't think Linden's, I also hated when you move that hedge and it looks like this huge green square. But if they want to it won't turn out to be a huge green square because it'll be alive. But it's not going to be really seen from Linden, I don't think. So I'm in favor of it.
So Angus, a couple of additional comments. There is that there's 2 very large trees already that block the majority of the view of the house as you walk down Linden today. So obviously we would be quite happy with not moving the hedge. The need to move the hedge is being driven by the requirements of the HDC to make it as invisible as possible. So I respect and understand your view there. But the homeowner is, you know, she really wants to do the right thing and generate as much clean energy as she can for the property. So if we were to take the panels off the main house, that would only really leave 8 panels coming off of the garage and cottage, which, you know, is good, but would not cover the utilities that they have overall.
I appreciate all that thought going into it. Yeah, it's that's not a clear best option. Solar going on and hedge going up, or solar, you know, not going on and them not being able to get what they need or want. Yeah, I would much prefer it not go onto the old structure. It looks like there's a tree that's right at that corner, and maybe that fills out enough that, you know, in the summer, you know, it'll obstruct it.
It does. In the summer, that tree there, that picture there to the left was actually taken probably back in April. And you can see it hasn't fully come in. And the tree behind it, you can see from that angle there, it's actually, you know, it's significantly, with the hedge set back, the house is already considerably blocked. I think if you walk a little further down to Ocean Ave, it reveals a little bit more of the house. And in the summer, most of it would be blocked. The feedback we had from the HDC is in the winter that you'd still be able to see it. And we did comment and remark that, well, there's very few people in Sconset in winter.
Except for all of us.
Exactly.
Just so the panel knows, I am also a resident of Sconset.
Just a leftover chopped liver.
Yeah.
So for 20 years, I was on Pochick Street, a couple of streets away. And so I would walk down that lane almost every day. I don't anymore, but the winter, you know, as all the Sconseters who live there year round know, it's a wonderful place to be in the winter. But what this says is that they care about green power, and I think that's a good message. That's preservation as well. So I don't know, what does the rest of the board feel about not forcing this hedge issue if the panels go as proposed?
I'm fine.
Oh.
This is Mary. I'm fine with not moving the hedge and putting the panels even on the main house, even on the historic structure, because I honestly don't think that if they've only got 6 inches max off the black asphalt roof, we're really going to notice much, even when the tree growth is you know, deciduous, is down in the winter. I just don't really think, I think the house is set back far enough from Linden. It's really not going to be all that intrusive now that the panel is lower on the roof line. I have walked by there a number of times in the winter, and I really don't see that much of the house. I mean, they were doing a lot of work this winter in painting and things like that. And so my eye was drawn there, but I think this will be relatively unintrusive. And because of the benefit of having solar power, we should go with it.
And yeah, and hi, this is Rob. I agree also about the hedge. This mile high hedges, that's a whole nother topic. I would go with the other board members about excuse me, not having to move that hedge. Just I think the hedge is worse because we want to be able to see it.
Yep.
And we need to get our 3-foot high hedge law back, but that's another topic.
Yes.
Yeah, we can't go there. No, but I also, this is Clement, you can't really count on the trees always being there. So whether they're deciduous or not, but I don't, you
good
need
point.
to move the trees. And I also think the black on black will disappear. And I love that you moved it down off the roof line because you won't see it from Ocean. And that is the predominant viewpoint for this house is Ocean Ave.
Mhm.
So what we're saying is that we really don't want the vegetation manipulated. We don't want the hedge moved, and just to leave it as is.
Yeah, I think so.
Approve, but leave the vegetation where it is.
Agreed.
Yep.
Very nice.
All right.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you all.
Appreciate.
Thanks.
And Holly,
Thank
we're
you.
on, are we on again next Monday at 11, I believe?
Yes, yes. Kathy will be helping facilitate a agenda together. What we have, I have no idea what's come in. But of course, July is going to start the old business, new business weeks. So it will, because during COVID, we've basically been doing both. And it's been a lot. And now we're getting more applications. So we're trying to go back to that normal routine. But I hope that you all are, sounds like you're receptive to being able to meet like this so that way you all can see, because I don't know if we're going to have old applications come in, which I
Right.
want you all to see.
Thank
So
you.
Yeah.
I do appreciate that. Yep.
Thank
Yeah,
Well, I
no,
can
it's nice
say,
to be.
yeah, I printed off the sheet, so I knew which ones we were talking about, but then I didn't realize I could actually access all of the blueprints and all of what we were, so it helped me a lot to look at it all an hour before we got together, so.
Yeah.
That's
And you
all
can
Kathy.
do that, so thank you to Kathy.
She's been,
Thank you so much to Kathy.
she
Everybody.
was instrumental in getting that going, making sure what we have available. Of course, not everything, because some of these applications have been for quite a while, but at least the newest and greatest stuff. So, yeah.
Newest and greatest. That's what we like.
Yes, and you guys brought up a couple of comments that I'm glad that you have as far as, solar in general. We recognize that there's aspect in the building with Nantucket Mine that need to be updated. But also the hedge issue too. So those are things that, we
Good.
definitely realize need to be discussed. So,
Good. All righty.
Oh,
Thank you.
All right, Holly, if you would put the agenda back up, I'll make our final comments. Would that be appropriate?
that is appropriate. Bear with me 1 second. All right.
Terrific. Okay, let's see. I'm going to make a motion for us to approve the comments that we've made on all these applications. I think we usually do that in our prior meetings. And I will do this by roll call as requested. The chair notes that Caroline Ellis had to leave early. I believe that was about 12:06. Mary Lathrop, Will, do you agree to the comments we've made?
I agree. Thank you.
Yep. Angus McLeod,
I do as well.
thank you. Clement Durkees,
I agree also, thank you.
all right. Then there being no further business that the chairman sees on the agenda, I'll take a voice vote on adjournment. All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair notes an official adjournment. Thank you all very much. Holly, thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Thanks, Holly. Thanks, Rob.
Thanks, Holly.
Oh,
And
You're
I think
welcome.
it went pretty smoothly, and it'll go smoother next time.
it will.